Howdy, folks. I'm Brian.
I'm Amber.
And here's some Reddit. I've decided to change up the background here. I mean, if you can see it, I've got like some fall leaves and stuff like that. I think it's a nice touch. So hopefully you enjoy the fall touch of fall. Maybe actually I should dig out some pictures that Amber took and use that as a background. Right now, this one that I'm using is from Pexels. It's I don't remember which author it was, but I just typed in fall. You would find it pretty easily. So yeah, let's get started. Our first letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for excluding my husband from my brother's funeral after he called me with news and told me to guess? I lost my brother in a motorcycle accident 3 weeks ago at the age of 21. This was sudden and devastating beyond measure. I lived 3 towns away from my entire family and I didn't know about it right away. My husband was calling when I walked into the room where my phone was on vibrate and charging. I answered and asked why I didn't answer my sister's calls. I asked why and whether she called him. He said yes, then proceeded to tell me that he received news of a family member's death from her. I was shaking at this point while I was waiting for him to tell me more, but he said, 'Guess who?' I angrily told him to stop it and tell me, but he still thought it was fine to ask me to guess. That's when I lost it on him because my nerves were done. I yelled at him and then hung up and immediately called my sister, and she told me it was our youngest brother. I had an awful reaction because this was my baby brother that I adored so much, and my husband knew how much I cared about him. I drove to my hometown 6 hours away by myself, and my husband was mad after he found out that I didn't wait for him to take him with me. I told him I didn't want him there after how he treated me and played with my emotions like that. He said that he was trying to prevent me from being traumatized." What? "I didn't want you to be traumatized, so I played a mind game with you. And didn't want to dish the news on me all of a sudden. He wanted to come, but I said I'd have to kick him out if he showed up, which got him mad, yelling that I had no right to rob him of saying goodbye to his favorite brother-in-law. He said my anger was misplaced and that I was taking it out on him for no reason other than being the bearer of bad news, and that nobody wants to be that person, but he tried to act as nice as he could about it. I haven't talked to him since, despite him calling me to come home so we can talk." All right, folks. What a train wreck of a situation. First off, I would have to give my condolences to OP. This is a tragic situation, and it sounds like it was, very hard on you emotionally. And losing a loved one is very difficult, and that's the reality of it. And you don't do this kind of stuff. Like, you don't, you rip the Band-Aid off, so to speak. When someone loses someone, you tell them in person if you can. If you can't, then you tell them over the phone. And there wasn't any reason for him to play this game on you. There really wasn't. He could have just come out and said it and been like, "Oh, your sister's been trying to get a hold of you. I'm really sorry to tell you this, but your brother was in an accident and he didn't make it." That's all he needed to say here. He didn't need to go into this whole, "Oh, guess who died? Oh, which family member do you want to guess?" Like, who does that? Who really does that? Like, that just is such in poor form, I think. So, I don't know. What do you folks think? Let me know.
Not the jerk.
Amber says not the jerk. So let me know in the comments below. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk. How does making you guess help you? You have to process in your mind the potential deaths of all your family members until you guess the right one? That's horrific. Anything you had to do to protect yourself after that was understandable. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, it's like a game of Saw, practically. It's like, do you want to play a game? A guessing game. Which of your family members has died? And OP says, "You're right, I felt absolutely devastated before I even knew about my brother's death because, like you said, I started wondering whether it was my mom, aunt, or any of my brothers, or even my nieces. It was awful, and I felt so much anger, I lost it on him." Yeah, you had every right to lose it on him in this situation. Our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for paying back my son for all of the chores he did in his mom's place?" For context, I'm a 37-year-old male and I have 3 kids, a 13-year-old male, a 5-year-old female, and a 9-year-old female. 2 with my wife, a 38-year-old female, but my son is a stepkid to her. In our house, we have a very specific chore schedule that works in a way so that all of us can do chores and still have plenty of free time / family time on top of homework and sports. It took a long time to come up with the system, and the allowance system, as my wife has always been a little iffy about kids doing too little to help, and about us giving them allowances in the first place. We ended up working this out when the oldest were toddlers, and it's been the system for several years. Yesterday, I came home early and was getting ready to start with dinner when I noticed my daughter and wife's nails were done in full with nice colors and even some nail extensions. The only time it could have been done was during chore time, so unless she had gotten the kids home from school early, this is impossible. Our kids' school gives the other parents a call when they're picked up early, or she'd skip out on her chores. We know how strict my wife is about the whole thing. I heavily doubted that she'd skip out on chores only to take 30 minutes for nails. My daughter had started talking about how much fun they had when I asked her how they found the time for it. She slipped up and admitted that her brother was doing her chores. When I asked how long, she went on to say since September. I then went to go ask my wife, who got deflective, saying that our daughter had lied and that they had just rushed through the chores that day. I told her that I would go and ask my son about it, and that if I went about it and our daughter was lying, then we would scold her for the lie. I checked it out with the son, and our daughter was right. He said that I thought I was in on the change, and that while he was talking, he brought it up, and that mom said that he wouldn't be paid, since it was help and not work. I went right to my bag downstairs, got my wallet, and pulled out the entirety of September's money and gave it to him. I told him to go to the bank and get him October's money too, for a full month, not just for what he'd worked for having to deal with this. My wife flipped out. She started an argument directly in front of the kids, and as much as I tried to calm her down and get her to talk in private, she wouldn't budge. All the shouting ended up with our toddlers who had been napping throughout about this, and that's what finally stopped the screaming match. She's been calling me the jerk for simply paying her son without even talking to her, and that his chores were much easier, so he didn't have to really do that much extra work to make up for his slacking. Note, he does the downstairs bathroom and the toddler's room, neither of which are easy, and the slackers shouldn't be paid. To prevent more fights, I compromised by letting the problem go, and my son kept his money until we could figure out the whole thing. We're keeping the peace for Halloween, but haven't talked about this at all. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk? Not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
Amber says not the jerk. You know, I also think not the jerk in this situation here. I think that the OP, while they did kind of make a unilateral decision, I think that was kind of in the right spirit of things, and it was in the spirit of, well, my son's being treated unfairly by the situation. And the way to remedy this unfair situation is to pay him extra money for the extra chores that he did. I think that this is, again, it's a difficult situation, and, it's too bad that it kind of ended in a fight. And it sounds like OP was trying to, get them to talk calmly, too, on top of that, but it just kind of devolved into a shouting match. So, I can't blame OP for wanting to pay his son for the chores that he did, especially if there was, like, a rigid schedule going on for a year. And, the son was going to become resentful at some point in time when he was doing all the chores, or, more than his fair share. And while OP's wife is saying that, the son was slacking, it sounds like he was the only one of the kids doing chores at that point in time. And I don't know when OP's wife, if she does chores all day or what the arrangement is, but it's not fair that one child gets more chores than the other children. And I mean, these need to be age appropriate, of course, and that's what it sounds like. I don't think OP's in the wrong here. So let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, take care and good luck. All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Dumping My Husband's Dinner Instead of Reheating It? I'm a new mom of a 4-month-old baby. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I take care of cleaning, making dinner, and childcare while my husband works at a gas station. Lately, he's been spending too much time in the bathroom, and he ends up being late for dinner, which is usually ready by 8 p.m. every day. He'd stay gone for over an hour and have me reheat his dinner for him after complaints from him being on his feet all day. I don't like that on top of taking care of the baby, cleaning, cooking, and I have to wait for him and reheat his dinner. Here's a scary piece of info. He doesn't know how to use the microwave properly and end up causing several accidents that almost cost us our home in the past. That is worrisome. It all came to a head last night. Dinner was ready at 8, but he was taking too long in the bathroom. I went to feed my son, and my husband came back and sat at the kitchen table asking me to come reheat his dinner while I was breastfeeding in the living room. I said no, I was busy, and he kept insisting. I told him to wait till I'm finished feeding our son, but he complained about being hungry. I got so angry that I said either wait or do it yourself, but he kept calling me to do it. I told him that if he asked me one more time, I'd dump his dinner in the trash, but he insisted on doing so. I got up and walked into the kitchen, grabbed his plate, and dumped the food right into the trash can, and he kept saying, "What in the world?" He looked astonished and said I was crazy. I told him that I was busy feeding our son, and it wasn't my fault that he didn't show up to dinner when it was hot. I said I was done waiting for him arm and leg to reheat his dinner for him. He said none of this justifies me throwing away his dinner, and that it wasn't fair that he had no dinner after working all day, and blamed me, saying that I needed to check myself and drop this passive-aggressive attitude. He got up and we argued some more, and then he stormed off, calling me crazy again. We haven't been talking since the incident occurred, and I feel really guilty for acting upon my frustration and anger in the heat of the moment, and I think maybe I should apologize for making him go to bed hungry. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk? Not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
Amber says not the jerk. You know, this is a really tough situation for OP. You know, they have a husband who essentially, can't use a microwave to even reheat their own food, won't show up to dinner on time, and then, complains when, he has to eat cold food. This is, on top of that, they're taking care of the son and breastfeeding them. So I would have a really hard time blaming OP in this situation. I would be curious as to why he needs to go and use the bathroom for an hour, every day when he comes home. It sounds like this is a pretty recent development. So, I don't know. I think that OP isn't the jerk in this situation. I can understand why her husband would want to not eat cold food, but OP isn't doing this maliciously, and 8 o'clock, I don't know. To me, 8 o'clock is a really late time to eat dinner. I mean, I know that some people do, but I've never really eaten dinner much past 5, personally. 5 or 6. So, yeah, I don't know. This just seems like by the time he's getting to eat dinner, it's like 9 o'clock. And how do you even go to bed on like a stomach full of like heavy foods? I don't know. That would be really hard on my digestive system. So, yeah, I don't know. Not that I'm judging people's eating habits or anything like that. I just have a hard time imagining it personally. So, that's a really late time to be, waiting on your husband hand and foot, so to speak, and reheating his food because he can't do it. I don't know. Let me know what you folks think. Anyhow, take care and good luck. How do you mess up a microwave so bad to repeatedly cause dangerous accidents? The only way I can think of is by doing it on purpose, perhaps as a way to make you take care of him more. Not the jerk, and his weird need for you to take care of him is concerning. It's weaponized incompetence at its most extreme. Not the jerk, OP. You have 2 children, apparently not just 1. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. And if you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.